My name's Mark Benton, and I'm the Technical Program Management Lead for Thames Valley Police. I lead the delivery of key ICT programs and projects for both the Thames Valley and the Hampshire forces. So I have a team of project managers working for me, and we work closely with other teams in the ICT function and within the wider force to ensure that we deliver projects and programs as efficiently as possible. Prior to this role, I've spent the last 20 odd years working for major IT outsourcers in program delivery and account director. So I'd say that there's never been a better time to have a stammer and to be entering the workplace. But because the things have changed so much for the better over the last 30 or so years. There's support out there for young people that stammer, or for everybody that stammers now. Companies are now legally obliged to make allowances and adjustments for people who stammer, both at the interview and in the workplace. And good companies now see the value in encouraging people to bring their whole selves to work. So what that means is that there's no need for people to hide their stammer or to apologise for it. That they can be themselves, they can let their actions and their outputs, their deliveries speak for themselves as well. So they take me at face value. They don't judge me on my stammer. They don't make jokes about my stammer. They're incredibly supportive. And when I've approached employers in the past about giving me time to attend speech therapy or to get involved with initiatives for various stammering charities, so Action for Stammering Children's Mentoring Scheme, the Employers Stammering Network, 50 Million Voices, they've all been wholly supportive. I guess companies now are really keen to have a proactive D&I agenda. And as I mentioned, things have changed so much for the better. So, yeah, I don't have anything but positive support from my colleagues. He'd probably think that I've put on a lot of weight and I look really old. And he'd probably be quite surprised at the things that I most enjoy in my job, because they're engaging with people, talking to people, meeting new people, leading discussions and presenting. And these are all things I could never imagine myself doing when I was younger. So I used to have a lot of avoidance strategies. I often just didn't speak, full stop. It was the best way of making sure I didn't stammer. I often wouldn't put my hand up to answer a question that I knew the answer to. So, but because it just wasn't worth the feelings of pain, shame, frustration that I would feel if I stammered. So the biggest change for me since being that 13-year-old is I've got to a point through the journey of speech therapy where my goal is to be a confident communicator, not a fluent speaker, because I'll never be a fluent speaker and I'm fine with that. But so much of communication is non-verbal. So if I can look somebody in the eye during a moment of stammering and not look at the floor and not close up with my body language, then hopefully that shows them that I'm fine with it. Hopefully that then means that they should be fine with it too, because it's a statement of confidence. Look, I'm stammering. It's okay to stammer, and I think that's a really key message that we need to get out there. It's okay to stammer, and maybe that's something we forget to just re-emphasize sometimes. I guess the most surprising thing that the 13-year-old me would see now is a version of me that's comfortable stammering and who doesn't mind stammering, but because he really did mind stammering. And I think if you'd offered him a magic pill that would have made the stammer go away, but would have changed their personality, they'd have said, "Fine, I'll take it, whatever the consequences are. I don't care. I just want to be without this thing." Now I'd say thanks, but no thanks. But because now I understand the benefits that my stammer brings me. So yeah, it's part of me, but it doesn't define me. It makes me empathetic, makes me appreciate other people who are facing their own challenges. It buys me time. So because of the way that I have to manage stammer, I tend to speak with a fairly measured rate, and in meetings or when pushed for answers to questions, it gives me thinking time sometimes, and that's really useful. But because ultimately I think it makes me a nicer person, it makes me a more rounded person, it makes me a better person, and I'm really happy with that. I'm happy with the difference that my stammer brings. And that might sound odd to some people, but I'm really comfortable with that. And I hope 13-year-old Mark would be happy with that too. At school and at college, I probably didn't put myself forward to speak as much as I could have. And certainly in early roles at work, I was happy to minimise interaction with people if I could. And I did work it, I was part of the early IT crowd that worked in a basement away from people. So that's actually fact. It was when I started moving into leadership type roles, so running projects, needing to lead meetings, not just talking meetings, but needing to drive them, and needing to present, that I realised that my stammer wasn't helpful, in that it wasn't helping me to be the person that I wanted to be, which I now realise is to be that confident communicator that I spoke about before, not a fluent speaker, although back then fluency would have probably been the goal. And that was when I decided to start my personal speech therapy journey at the City Lit in London. And that was 25 years ago. And I'm on that journey still. And I'm still refreshing. I'm still doing tune-ups. And I know when I need to go back and I need to sharpen my toolbox. And that's something I'll always do. That first time I went there, though, really important to say that my boss and the company I worked for at the time were really supportive, and I was nervous about going to them and saying, this is something I think I need to do and I want to do. But other companies I've worked for have also been really supportive. So I guess I'd encourage anybody to have that open conversation that I did around the stammer with their employers, because they may be really pleasantly surprised at the outcome. So I think to answer the question, I did use my stammer as an excuse to not put myself forward for things in the past. But after I found support for it and ways of working with it, managing my stammer, I'd say it hasn't held me back since then. Things I've learned through, as I say, that speech therapy journey is that stammerers tend to be our own worst critics. And
Mhm.
I said earlier on, it's okay to stammer. I need to keep reminding myself of that sometimes. And
Yeah.
that when I do stammer, and it, it's wrong to put negative connotations to it and say it's a good or a bad day, but on a day when I'm stammering a lot, or in a meeting where I stammered a lot, and maybe I thought, oh, I could have done that differently. It's not better, because it happens, and
Mhm.
just um, just reminding myself it's fine to stammer. It's not a disaster if it happens,
Yeah.
and just keep reminding myself of that rather than beating myself up. And I don't do that very often now, but I used to do that a lot. Maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, I would still. It took a long time for me to get to that point where um, I was reminding myself it was okay to stammer, let alone saying that message to other people. So yeah, just keeping going every day and reminding myself it's fine. If it happens, it's fine. It's not the end of the world.
Mhm.
It doesn't define